Today I'm going to show you how to make this really simple line bracelet with cubes, crystal cubes. Now, I did a crystal cube bracelet called Royal Beauty on my other channel, Gina's Gem Creations, and it was a lot. This was my basis of idea. So what I did was I just stripped that bracelet down and made it really, really easy. That other one was quite a bit more complicated because I went around each bead and with 15 O's and framed each bead, and then I did a little braid on the side and stuff like that. So what I've done with this one is I just stripped it completely down and made a really simple, really pretty line bracelet. Tennis bracelet, whatever you want to call it. And that's what that looks like. Let me put it on my wrist and I'll show you what it looks like on my wrist. Let me show you the clasping. It's not quite pretty. And you could make a bunch of these and stack them too. They would be a really nice stackable bracelet. So let's go ahead and look at the material list. So for this project today, we will be using 4mm cubes, and these are a Chinese crystal cube. You can get them at ChineseCrystalBeads.com. You can get them on Amazon, almost any bead supply place, znetshows.com. They should have these 4mm cubes that you can use for this project. You will also need some 11O seed beads. This is a Toho and it's a metallic bronze. I am also going to be using this smaller clasp, and it's about 1/2 inch, and it's copper tone, or antique copper. I'm going to be using 8-pound Fireline in the smoke color, simply because that's what I have available in the smoke color, and because I'm using darker beads. And this is kind of a thready stitch that you can see the thread through sometimes. I'm using the smoke colored Fireline. I only have it in 8-pound. However, you can use Nanofil 8 or 10-pound. You can also use 6-pound Fireline. If you are going to use a lighter colored crystal, like a clear crystal like this one, then use a crystal thread. However, use a lighter seed bead too, so that you don't see your thread quite as badly. I'm using a size 12 beading needle today simply because it's smaller, and I'm going to pass through these beads a few times, and it's just a little easier to navigate, especially since I'm using a thicker thread. You can certainly use a size 10 beading needle with this, but I'm using a size 12 today. You'll want to thread onto your needle a full wingspan of thread to start this project, or whatever is comfortable to you if you do know how to extend your Fireline. If you do not, I have a video that will show you how to do that, and I will put a link for it in the description box beneath the video player. A wingspan is when you spread your arms straight out side to side and you measure from fingertip the length of your first arm across your chest, the length of your second arm, and to your fingertips on that arm. Go ahead and cut a piece that length and thread your needle, and we'll get started. Okay, we are going to start by picking up 6 11O seed beads onto our needle, like this. And then we are going to bring this down to the end of our thread. Let me get a little bit more room so you can see what I'm doing here. You do not have to leave a long tail, just enough to hold on to, and then you are going to come from the tail side back into the first 3 11Os. So I'm coming up the tail side into 3 11O seed beads, and I'm going to push my needle through those first 3. I'm going to hold on to the tail of my thread and the 3 11O seed beads that I just went through, and I'm going to pull the free 3 11O seed beads down on top of the first 3. Just like this. Then I'm going to sew through this second set of seed beads. So my tail is here, my working thread is here. I'm going to go through this set now and just go through all 3. Hold on to your beads between your thumb and your finger and pull your thread through. And then you're going to go back up through the first set. Now this, going through these, secures them so that we can start a nice base for our bracelet. We're also going to go ahead and do one end of our clasp right now so that it's in the weave and it's stronger, and we aren't going to be sewing back through doing embellishments, so it'll be done and prepared. So you're going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads onto your needle. And then you can drop them down to the little piece you just created. And just lay it out so you can see them. And then pick up your clasp end. I'm going to use my round end, and I'm just going to go through the clasp. Now I want to go back through the opposite side of these beads here. So know that you're going to be going back into the 3 beads that have the tail sticking out, because sometimes it twists and it's confusing. First thing we're going to do though, we have our thread through the toggle. We're going to go through the first 11/0 seed bead right here. You can pick up your little piece and pull your thread through that first 11/0 seed bead. And then pick up 2 11/0 seed beads and go back through the side with your tail. So I'm just going to pick it up and I'm going to slide through all 3 of these beads on the tail side. And pull. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to sew back through this just to secure it. You can sew through it a couple more times. I will do one on camera just so you can see how I do it, and then we are going to do another one off camera. So I'm coming out of this set of 11/0s. I'm going to go up into these 2 here and then up into the one beneath the clasp, and I'm going to pull through. And then I'm going to go through the clasp. So I want to go through this way. And that's just because I want to make sure that I know what direction I started in. And then I am going to go down the other side. So now I'm coming out of the clasping, I'm going to go down into this 11/0 seed bead again, and then the 2 11/0s on this side. I'm going to move my tail out of the way, hold on to my piece, and pull my thread through. And then go back through the 3 we started in right here. Now this particular clasp has a really thick bottom, so I'm going to sew through it again just to make sure everything is secure, and then we'll be back. So if you need to, go ahead, or you can put an 8/0 seed bead right here too when you make your piece, just so that it has a little bit more of a base. But I didn't want to make it more difficult than it needs to be, so I just used an 11/0. Now I'm going to sew back up through and secure again, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I have gone ahead and secured my piece, or my clasp again, and I'm coming out of the first set of 3 11/0s that we created. We can go ahead and remove this tail just so it's not in our way. I'm going to use my little thread burner and just burn it off, and then I can melt it down so that you don't see it. You can also do that with a lighter. You don't have to have a thread burner. I just happen to have found one that actually works thanks to somebody on one of my channels who recommended it. So thank you for that. And let's move on. So I'm coming out of these 3 11/0 seed beads here. I'm going to go into these 3 beneath it. I'm now going to pick up 1 11/0 seed bead, 1 crystal. Come here, crystal. Let me back off a little bit for you. And 1 11/0 seed bead. So this is what I have on there. And I'm coming out of this side of my piece, and I'm going to go into the other side, just like this, and pull this down. Now arrange it and make sure that these single 11O seed beads lay just on top of the edge of the cube, and then go down into the 11O you just put on the side that your needle's on. Pull and tighten, and then go back into the cube right here. Pull, and then pick up 5 11O seed beads onto your needle, like this, and then go into the opposite side of the crystal from which you're coming out. So we're coming out here, we're going to go in here, and pull these down, just like that. Now, we're going to turn this piece a little bit and go into just one of the 11Os here. And I'm doing it this way just because I want this one to pull up. So I'm just going through one at a time. And then I'm going to go through 3. So go through 1, then go through 3. And then go through 1 on this side, right here. Now pick up an 11O seed bead and go into the one right next to where you're coming out, and pop that 11O seed bead between them, just like that. And then go up the 3 on this side, turn your piece, go through 1 11O seed bead on this side, right next to where you're coming out, and pick up an 11O. And then go into the 11O next to the one you're coming out of. Pop the 11O on your thread between them. Just like that. And this is what you should have. Now go down into the 3 11Os right here. Pull your thread through gently so you don't pull anything out of whack, and then pick up 3 11O seed beads. You're coming out of this side. Let's go into the opposite side. Excuse me, my allergies are acting up a little today. I apologize, but my voice is going away. Pull these down and then go back up. So you're coming out of these 3 on your first unit. Go back up the 3 that you just put on. Now, these can separate up here because there's only one thread through. So to make this really secure, since this is a connection, we're going to go back through it one more time. So just go through this one and then back up through this one. Now you don't have to, however, you should. And then just line them up nice and neat. And then pick up 1 11O seed bead, a crystal. These crystals are hard to find the hole. And then an 11O, just like this. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the 3 11Os here. And pull them down. Make sure that your crystal lines up nice and neat and you have your 11Os just on the edge of it. Then I'm going to turn my piece a little bit and I'm going to go through this 1 11O right next to where my thread is coming out and pull. Give it a little tug so that everything's nice and tight and neat. Go back into the crystal. And then pick up 5 11O seed beads. Just like this. And then go into the opposite side of the cube from which you're coming out. And pull. Then sew into just 1 11O seed bead right next to where your thread is coming out of the crystal, and then up into the 3 11Os here. Now this one, we're going to go ahead from this point on, right when we come out of these three, we're going to add our next three, just so that everything is ready for your next unit. So from this point on, we'll do this now. So I'm picking up 3 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to go into the opposite side. And this way also, you don't have to sew through it twice because you will as you come back around. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, you're coming out of these 3 beads here. You're going to go into this one here. Pull your thread through. And you notice I hold on to my piece as I pull my thread through. That keeps everything from going all weird directions. Now I'm coming out of this one. I have an 11-0 on my needle, and I'm going to go just into this 11-0 here. And then I will go down into these 3 11-0s here. And this is why a size 12 beading needle helps, because we're going through the beads quite a bit. Then we're going to go into this one here. And then pick up one, go up through the next one, give a little tug, go into these 3 11-0s, and now you see I'm sewing through this again, so now it's already secured for me, so we don't have to go through it again. Just make sure when you're putting on your next stage, you don't pull on your thread this way and separate your 2 columns of beads. Just do it gently. Pick up 1 11-0 seed bead, pick up 1 crystal cube, pick up 1 11-0 seed bead, like this. Go into the opposite side of the 3 you're coming out of. And pull your thread through. Make sure that everything's nice and neat and your 11-0s are in position. Go through 1 11-0 seed bead right next to where your thread is coming out. Give a nice tug and tighten it. And then go through the crystal. Then pick up 5 11-0 seed beads. Like this, and you're coming out here, go into the opposite side. Pull them down until they wrap around the bead. Go through the 11-0 seed bead here, and then through the 3 here. And here we will add 3 for our next unit. So pick up 3 11-0 seed beads onto your needle. And then go through the 3 11-0s here. And then you will go into the 1 11-0 next to where your thread is coming out. And then pick up an 11-0 seed bead, go into the next 11-0. Go up through the 3 on this side. Turn your piece, go down through 1 11-0 on this side. And pick up an 11-0 and go into the next 11-0. Very easy, very repetitive at this point. We'll do one more and then we'll go to length off camera. So go into the 3 right next to the crystal here and pull. Now, if anything's loose and you feel like you don't like the way it looks, or if these 2 pull apart, just sew through them again. And everything should draw back into shape. Now I'm going to go up into these 3 right here. So say I pulled through and I kind of pulled this apart, I could just sew down this side and back up this side. And that way everything will be in shape. Now you don't want to put too many draws of thread through it if you don't have to. So I'm trying to keep it nice and neat so I don't have to. But if you have to, go ahead and do it. Then pick up 1 11/0, 1 crystal, 1 11/0. Go into the opposite side here. And pull these down, just like this. I'm going to turn it, and then I'm going to go into this 1 11/0 and give a little tug. Be careful because you can pull these 2 units apart if you pull too crazy. Then go down into the crystal. And another little tug. Then pick up 5 11/0 seed beads. Like this. And go into the opposite side of the crystal. Go through 1 11/0. Go through 3 11/0s. Pull it tight so that this one doesn't pull down with the 3 on this side. And then pick up 3 11/0 seed beads. Go into the opposite side of the 11/0s you're coming out of. Pull your thread through. And then go up through 1 11/0 on top here. And then pick up an 11/0 seed bead and go into the next 11/0. Oops, got my thread. Yeah, my thread is in the middle of that. There we go. And then go down these 3 11/0s here. Pull through. Go up through 1 11/0 on this side. Pick up an 11/0 and go through this one. Arrange things so that they look nice. If they're not cooperating with you, make them cooperate. And then go up through these 3. And then down through these, whoop, just threw my needle, down through these 3. And then you're ready to start your next one by picking up 1 11/0 crystal, 1 11/0, and just do just as we've been doing with all of the other units, and continue until you have 18 units. So I'm counting my cubes, and I have 18 of them, and I've ended on my double row of 3 11/0 seed beads here. Now this is going to make just about a little over a 7-inch bracelet. Now if you want smaller or bigger, of course it's just going to depend on the amount of units you make. So you can wrap it around your wrist and just leave enough room to make the other side of the clasping. So I want mine to be a little loose, so I've brought it to where I'm just almost to that clasp, and then I will go ahead and put my clasp on. And I will have some movement. If you want it tighter, then you will leave a little bit more of a space. So What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put my clasping on. No matter how long you have made your bracelet, you need to make sure you end with your double row of 11 seed beads here so that you can match the other side of the bracelet when we do this. So now we're just going to pick up 3 11 seed beads, drop them down, and then pick up the clasp and go through it. And then go through the first 11 seed bead on the thread that you put on. And pull this down. And then pick up 2 11 seed beads and go through the other side of the 3 11s. Sew back through it and secure it twice, and then we'll come back and knot it off and see what it looks like. So I have secured my clasping, and now I'm coming out of the 3 11 seed beads that I attached to my clasping to. I am just going to go right between these 2 rows of 11 seed beads. There is a little thread bridge in between the 2. See if we can do this without blurring. There's a little thread bridge in between the 2. I'm going underneath that thread that runs between the 2 rows of beads. And I'm just pulling this into a circle and going through the circle with my needle and just guiding that knot that I just made down between the beads. And then I'm going to go through the second column and pull that bead or that knot down. Oh, it's a little thick. Pull that through, and then I'm going to go through here, these 3, and down into this column here, and back through this column. And I can sew down reinforcing as much as I want. I have quite a bit of thread, so I could go through and reinforce quite a bit. Now, I ended up, well, I hope I was in camera when I did that. I'm just sewing through the beads. So I tied a knot on the thread bridge, and then I'm just sewing through. Now, you can sew up through these 3, down through these 2, up through these 2, down through these, and go all the way through the thing reinforcing. I found as I was making my bracelet that I wanted to reinforce these 2 joints. I showed you that as you sewed back through that was enough, but there's only 1 thread going through the top of them. And over here I noticed that there was one that was just a little loose looking. They just weren't quite sturdy enough for me, and I was afraid that it might break. So I did reinforce these sections in between by going through them twice. That's just up to you what size thread you're using, what size needle you're using, how well you can go through them. That's up to you, how much you sew through and reinforce. But my motto is the more you reinforce, the better. So it's up to you how many times you do that. However, I am going to sew through this a couple of times, and then I'm just going to tie off. Or not tie off, but cut my thread off. I tied a knot, but by going through and weaving the thread through like this, it secures it a lot. You don't have to tie a million knots. However, if you feel like you need more knots, go ahead and tie them. The chances of this untwining is pretty slim. I made a pair of earrings the other day and I didn't tie a knot, and someone told me that it's not permanent if you don't tie a knot. That's not necessarily true, especially with earrings because they don't get a lot of wear and tear. However, if you feel that you need to tie more, just tie in the middle of these thread bridges here and go ahead and tie a bunch. I'm just going to intertwine my thread until I feel like I'm secure with it, and then I will cut the thread off and I will come back and show you the bracelet. And here, my friends, is our little bracelet we've just made. So let's put it on and see what it looks like. Back off a little bit here. And this is what the bracelet looks like on my wrist. Now, I had a little difficulty pulling this end of the clasp through this end simply because of the wideness of this. So you could go ahead and put 2 11-0 seed beads on the end. It really was more that I was working with one hand than the design. It actually does work, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But sometimes I like to just add an extra seed bead on the very end for the toggle clasps on the straight end, just to allow more room to pass through the round end of the toggle. Anyway, this is what this looks like on the wrist. And let me take it off, and I will show you what it looks like off the wrist. You can get that straightened out. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you later. Bye-bye.